Take our Bibles this morning. Take a look at Matthew chapter number 2. Matthew chapter number 2 this morning. Thinking about the Christmas season and the Christmas story, the account given in God's Word about the Christmas story, about Jesus Christ being born to us. So many wonderful, to me, aspects of the Christmas story. I love the idea that Jesus came and was willing to be born in an old, stinky, off-the-road manger so that the poorest of the poor could come to Him. I love that aspect of the story. And I love the aspect, I can imagine being one of the shepherds out there tending your flock, just as a normal night, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, an angel appears. And then, out of nowhere, a great host of angels appearing and worshiping and singing about the birth. Could you imagine what that would be like? Man, what an incredible account of the story of Jesus. And then, here in Matthew, we find the story of the wise men who travel, and we know that the manger scene or the nativity scene has the wise men there at his nativity, but we know that according to historical facts and theologians as they study, the wise men came approximately about 1 to 2 years, around 2 years after Jesus was born, and they came and they worshiped Him, and we'll see that here in our text. I want us to read as we continue with this idea of a simple Christmas. It's our theme this month, this year, for the idea of Christmas. And if we're not careful, we talked about this last week, if you're not careful, you'll get caught up in all the activities and all the glimmering, and all the shining lights, and all the beauty that's all around us, and all the activities, and all the things going on, that we will miss the simplicity of what Christmas is really about. We talked about that last week. We get too busy, and quite frankly, we make Christmas so many times too complicated because we have to find the perfect gift, the perfect thing, the perfect whatever. Everything has to be perfect. We make things so complicated. And we ought to get back to just really within our own hearts and our own lives making Christmas simple again. And this is something that Holly and I over the past several years in our family we've been trying to focus on. In our own household, the Lord's been working on us for the past several years on making Christmas a more simplistic time of year of putting up the lights and enjoying. We watched Miracle on 34th Street, the old classic one, okay? Last night, we watched that yesterday, and we enjoy the Christmas movies, and we enjoy the different ideas that's there. We enjoy all the things of Christmas, but to make it simple and bring the focus on Jesus Christ, you get caught up in all the other things, you're going to miss out on the simplicity that Christmas is really about. And I love the idea of the wise men because they were so focused. The wise men were focused. You have to realize that in our text here, we're going to read in just a moment, in chapter 2, verses 1 through 12, they see a star in the east and they make this long journey. They're focused for this long time to get to this King Jesus, to worship Him. Let's take a look here at Matthew chapter number 2. Let's see this. And starting at verse number 1. Now when Jesus was born in Bethlehem of Judea, in the days of Herod the king, behold, there came wise men from the east to Jerusalem, saying, Where is he that is born King of the Jews? For we have seen his star in the east, and are come to worship him. When Herod the king had heard these things, he was troubled, and all Jerusalem with him. And when he had gathered all the chief priests and scribes of the people together, he demanded of them where Christ should be born. And they said unto him, In Bethlehem of Judea. For thus it is written by the prophets, And thou, Bethlehem, the land of Judea, or Judah, art not the least among the princes of Judah. For out of thee shall come a governor, that shall rule my people Israel. Then Herod, when he had privately called the wise men, inquired of them diligently what time the star appeared. And he sent them to Bethlehem and said, Go and search diligently for the young child. And when ye have found him, bring me word again, that I may come and worship him also. When they had heard the king, they departed, and lo, the star which they saw in the east went before them, till it came and stood over where the young child was. When they saw the star, they rejoiced with exceeding great joy. And when they were come into the house, they saw the young child with Mary his mother, and fell down and worshipped him. And when they had opened their treasures, they presented to him gifts, gold, and frankincense, and myrrh. Verse 12, and being warned of God in a dream, that they should not return to Herod, they departed to their own country another way. So many ideas and so many things could be brought out in this passage. I've heard so many different things taught about the wise men, about their gifts, and about the star, and about all these different things. But when I think about the simplicity of Christmas, what is Christmas all about? We say it's about the birth of Jesus, yes, but even more specific, think about the purpose of these wise men. Why did the wise men travel such a long journey to see this king? They came for one reason. You see it in verse number 2. One reason. For we have seen his star in the east and are come to what? Worship him. Christmas in its simplicity is about worshiping the King of Kings. It's about worship. Now see, today's society, we have so twisted this idea of worship. In our modern churches, we have got this idea of what worship is. Some would say worship is simply the raising of hands. Some would say, and I've heard this, dancing before the Lord. And I've heard some say their pastor cut a rug, dancing for the Lord. I don't cut rugs very well unless it's with scissors. I just don't, I can't, I don't do that. Okay? Some would say the idea of just to the music, what are you doing? Oh, I'm worshiping the Lord. Just swaying back and forth. Almost like you're kind of slow dancing with the Lord type thing. Some would say shouting, well, glory! What are you doing? I'm worshiping the Lord! Well, glory! That's worship. Some would say rolling down the aisle is worship. Barking like dogs is worship. Some would say speaking in unknown tongues is worship. All of these, you find they say making much noise is worship. Whether it's shouting and all these other things. I'm not against the shouting. I'm not against raising hands. I'm not against even if you're swaying and you're raising your hands and you're doing this. I'm not saying that's not worship. Now, speaking in tongues and the cutting the rug and the rolling on the aisles, that's a different story. But these others, I'm not against that. There's nothing wrong with that. But to say this is what worship is, no. I can stand here and do this all I want to. It doesn't mean I'm worshiping the Lord. It means I'm raising my hands and swaying back and forth. That's what it means. You will find this, much noise does not mean much worship. As I've studied this idea of what worship is, true worship, now praising the Lord, saying glory and shouting and things like that, has to do with the applauding and the noise making and the singing glory and Hosanna. It's praising the Lord. But worship is what I'm talking about today. Worship. Much noise does not mean much worship. When I find people worshiping, I find them quiet in God's Word. I find every time somebody's truly worshiping the Lord, they're quiet. They're bowing down.
Right.
We think it's about the noise. We think it's about, and yet we find in Psalm 46, be still and know that I am God. You won't always know God is who He is in the loud times. Sometimes you just need to be still, quiet, worship, and you'll see who God is. These wise men, they didn't come to dance before Jesus. They didn't come to clap their hands before Jesus. They didn't come to sway before Jesus. They didn't come to shout to the baby Jesus. They didn't come for these things. Now, I'm not talking about praising. You have to keep this clear, because some of you are looking at me like, oh, you don't think we should shout to the Lord? Shout to the Lord. No, I'm not. I'm for that. I'm okay with that. Okay? I'm not talking about praising.
Right.
Keep that straight.
That's right.
But what has happened is we've got worship so confused, we put it in with praise. They are two different things.
Amen.
And the wise men did not come to praise Jesus. They came to worship Jesus. And we would be very wise to do the same. We spend a lot of time praising Him with our music and our raising the hands and the, singing and all these different things. We spend a lot of time doing this, and that's good. I'm okay with that. But we don't spend near enough time with simply worshiping Jesus. Sometimes some of the best things we can do is to zip our lips and just to listen to what God has to say and worship Him. Our culture today has made worship an idea of building the emotions up and to make it simply emotional. I understand how this works. I was a music major in college. I understand. They taught me how to get people that, they taught me the idea, and you can disagree with me all you want, but they taught me how that the music director ought to start with something that is more upbeat and get them all calm and get them all ready for, get them emotionally prepared for the sermon. Now, I don't have a problem getting people emotionally prepared for a sermon to hear that. Okay? I don't have a problem with that. But what happens, inevitably, you listen to the praise and worship. Now, I'm going to get people, I'm not trying to. But you're going to find this. They do the same thing. They're going to start with upbeat songs. Everybody all excited. Woo! And all of a sudden, they'll get calmer and calmer and calmer. And before you know it, they'll have their cell phones out. And they're building the emotion. Now, I am not against emotions. God gave them to us for a reason. But when we build that up and say, this is worship, no.
Amen.
Worship is much more deep. It's deeper than just the body and my emotions. So the Bible tells us that they worship Him, must worship Him in spirit and in truth. If you're going to worship Him, you have to worship Him deeper than just your emotions, your mindset. Worship Him with your spirit. And in the truth of what is being said, in the truth of God's Word. This is what true worship is. We find in this context of our passage, true worship, a great example of what true worship is. I would say this, true worship happens on purpose. It happens on purpose. Oh, I've been to the concerts. Raising my hand and doing all these things, and all of a sudden, before I know it, what am I doing? I've even had to tell me that when you get closer to the time you want people to worship, dim the lights down. That's what you set. You set the mood for worship. We can worship God in full. I don't have to turn the lights down to worship God. But that's what they tell us that. They teach that. But it has to happen. True worship happens on purpose. Notice that these wise men, now when Jesus was born, in chapter 2, verse 1 of our text, when Jesus was born in Bethlehem of Judea, in the days of Herod the king, behold, there came wise men from the east to Jerusalem, saying, where is he that is born King of the Jews? For we have seen a star in the east, and are come to worship him. Now you have to realize that many scholars believe that the wise men's journey they say they came from around Persia area, that this journey would have been approximately 1,000-mile journey. About a month, or a little over a month journey through the deserts and the hot sand. They had to come with a purpose in their heart. They had to arrive with a reason. You don't just all of a sudden go, oh wait, I'm worshiping Jesus. What's going on? I'm rolling the floors. And I'm doing... No. Worship happens on purpose. I would say these wise men purposed in their hearts to worship the Lord. They had purpose in their heart, this long journey. They did not give up. They didn't quit. They continued to go forward. The wise men had purpose in their heart to travel this long distance on purpose for the purpose of worshiping Jesus. Worship doesn't happen by accident. And I would say that we too must be like these wise men and worship on purpose. The devil doesn't want us to worship the Lord. He doesn't mind us praising. I don't think he minds us praising. Because you're saying, thank you God for what you've done. That's great. But when you worship, that becomes a very intimate time with God. I mean, very intimate time. True worship is very intimate between you and God. Worship happens on purpose. But I would say this, that worship happens with humility. Worship happens with humility. Notice in verse number 11 of our text, I'm skipping the part about Herod because Herod is setting up the idea of a false worshiper. But we're not going to go into that. We're focusing on true worship. Verse number 11, it says, when they were come to the house, they saw the young child where Mary his mother, and fell down and worshipped him. Now these wise men, they were not just any ordinary people. The wise men who came, they were higher ups in their political system. These were the people who were used to having people bowing down to them and paying homage to who they are. These wise men, the Magi. They were used to people coming to them and bowing to them and saying, what do you want us to do? What do we need to do? They're used to this, but notice what they did. They came and they fell down. You know what this is? They bowed the knee to one who is greater than they are. And it is important that we as Christians learn to bow down in humility to the one who's greater than we are.
Amen.
Too many times, like the children of Israel, we're stiff-necked. We need to be like the Magi, the wise men here. Fall down and just worship Him. I love the story of Martha and Mary. Martha's all worried about all things happening. She's running around. Like a lot of us are, Christmas is really, that'd be a good Christmas story, because a lot of us are like Martha running around like a chick with a head cut off, running around here, going over there. Okay, that's who we are. But the simplicity of it, of Christmas, Mary's right there sitting at Jesus' feet.
That's right.
She's the one worshiping Jesus. Well, Martha's doing all this other stuff. Comfort about, Jesus said. Don't mistake your activity for worship.
Amen.
Oh, I'm so busy. I'm doing this. I got this. Somebody told me the other day, I've got something going on from Tuesday all the way up to the 23rd every day. Don't mistake your busyness for worship.
That's true.
You may be busy during this time of season, but don't mistake it for your worship of Jesus during this time of season. It's more important to get on our knees before Almighty God in humility and worship Him on purpose. This time of year, we do have to worship on purpose. Because we got everybody else wanting us to do this, pulling for our time for here, pulling for our talents over here, pulling for our stuff over here, wanting us to do this over here. And we say, you know what? I'm taking time for Jesus. This is His birthday. This is the day that we set aside specifically. We should worship Him all year round. But this time of year, it's a special time. I'm worshiping Him especially now. Yeah, but what if everything doesn't... The most important thing to do this Christmas season, I believe with all my heart, the most important thing we can do is worship Jesus. Yeah, but if I don't have all the turkey and the ham and the stuff and all the big Christmas meal, but do you have worship?
Amen. Amen.
Well, if I don't have my family and I don't have everything set up just right, everything decorated just perfect, do you have worship? Don't get confused with our activity in worship. Worship
most all the time, well, I'll say this, in my studies, every time somebody's worshiping, they're being still. They're bowing down, they're falling down, they're prostrate, they're laying right on, laying down.
Right.
Well, everybody else is doing all the other things. And we go, oh, that lazy person, they're over here, they're having their quiet time again with Jesus. And I've heard people say that about people. Oh, they're just having their, you know what? You know what Jesus said about Mary? That's the one thing that we need to be doing. Don't be so quick to judge those who are trying to worship Jesus. Maybe you should just join them.
Yes, amen.
Come to Him on purpose. Lord, I want to worship You. I've put it in my heart. My heart is fixed on Thee, O God, the Bible says. And I'm focusing on worshiping You.
Amen.
This Christmas season, whether the perfect gift is given to me or I'm able to give the perfect gift, I'm not going to stress about that. I want to worship You. Christmas is truly the only holiday or the only day I've ever noticed anybody ever so concerned about getting everybody else, but they want for that day other than the person that they're celebrating their birthday for. You know what Jesus wants? Your worship. They don't come on June 8th on my birthday and give everybody else presents, hoping they get everybody else there and they forget me. They don't do that on your birthday either. What is that? That is your special day, your birthday. They focus on you. They give you the gifts. They give you the presents. They let you do. Everybody has different things they do for their birthday. But yet when it comes to Christmas, we're all worried about what everybody else wants and we forget what Jesus wants. We ought to spend the time on purpose and in humility worshiping the Lord. True worship takes the focus off of self and all I've got in my plans and my schedule and my abilities and places it completely, all the attention on Jesus. At the point that those wise men knelt down before Christ, they were no longer the center of attention. Jesus was. Jesus was.
Amen.
And we ought to do that, not just at Christmas time, but all year round. If I were to put worship in 7 words, I would put it this way. He must increase, but I must decrease. Put it in these words. He must increase, but I must decrease. That is the motto of worship. It's interesting. I didn't come up with that, by the way. John chapter 3, verse number 30.
Amen.
John the Baptist. Everybody was busy, worried about how John was going to feel about Jesus arriving and doing all of his miracles. He says, no, you don't understand. He must increase, but I must decrease. That is the attitude, that is the heart, that is the summary, the motto of what true worship is. If we only worship in public so people can see us worshiping, I'm not against public worship. But God's against the heart of how you worship. If you raise your hand, or if you clap, or if you say amen, just so others can hear you say it and do it. Jesus is more concerned with what's in your heart. I'm for the clapping. I'm for the amen. I'm for the shouting. I'm for the raising of hands. I'm for that. And if God lays it on your heart, you want to make a laugh, I really don't care about that either. As long as you do everything in English. I'm not against that. But if you're doing it for a show, sit down and let Jesus have the primary purpose.
Amen.
That's all I'm saying. That's what worship is, putting Jesus first.
That's right.
Realizing I have to humble myself. Do you realize that when we give the perfect gift, we spend all the time looking for the gifts to make sure the party is just right. I'm for organized parties. I'm for making things right and good. But if we become so stressed out about it, we're so concerned about what people think about us. What if I don't have it just right? What if everything's not just perfect? What if the placings isn't just perfect? What if I don't have the perfect gift? And it becomes all about me and what people think about me. And that's wrong. We got to say, what about Jesus? And place him there. He must increase, but I must decrease. And I would point out this. First of all, happens on purpose. Second of all, it happens with humility.
Amen. Amen.
But I would say this, the idea that worship comes with gifts. There's gifts of worship. You know, it's interesting. And I've heard preachers preach, and I believe with all my heart they are correct. I'm not saying they're incorrect. The gifts that the Magi, the wise men give Jesus, this symbolism that's there for Jesus. They give to Jesus, and it's a symbolism of his royalty, of him dying on the cross, and all these different things. It's a symbolism of what he's going to do. I understand that. But I believe that if we were to take a look at these, I think we should give God our gold, frankincense, and myrrh. You say, what do you mean? I say give God your gold. That is, gold is that precious, prized possession. Why don't you give that to God? What is your most prized possession in your life? What is the thing or the person that you prize the most? Even more than money. And say, God, they're yours. What's precious to you? Give that to God. Give God what you think is the most prized possession in my life. See, gold is that idea of royalty, yes. But it's a prized, precious metal that's worth much. What is worth the most to you in this life? And we're in church, so we're all go, oh, it's Jesus. Don't give me cynical answers. I want you to think deep within your heart. What do you really prize the most? Do you pride your own self? Do you pride your job? Do you pride what is your most prized possession, your most prideful that you love the most? Say, Lord, I'm giving that to you. This is my gold. I'm giving you gold. I'm worshiping before you, falling down, and God, here is the best that I've got. I'm not giving you second best anymore. I'm giving you the most prized possession I have in my life, and everything else that comes along with it. We see the gift of gold that they laid down at his feet. In verse number 11, we see that. And when they were coming to the house, they saw the young child with Mary, his mother, and fell down and worshipped him. And when they had opened their, notice that next word, treasures, not their leftovers, their treasures, they presented to him gifts, gold and frankincense and myrrh. Gold, give him your most prized possession. Frankincense, see, it's symbolic of Jesus willing to become a sacrifice, frankincense is, and the healing that is with these things. But I would say this, just like the woman who gave her 2 pence, and Jesus was watching and said out of her, she gave the most because she gave out of her want, or out of what she needed. That's in Mark chapter 12, verses 41 through 44. I'd say give to Jesus sacrificially. Frankincense is an idea of sacrifice. Give to Jesus sacrificially. Well, I don't have the money. I don't have to give to him sacrificially first. I would say this. Give to Jesus your frankincense of your body, being a living sacrifice. Romans 12:1. And I would say this. Give to Jesus the sacrifice of praise. Hebrews 13, verse 15. Come before him. Worship him. Give him the best that you have. The gold, the most precious thing you have. And then give him your frankincense as well. Say, Lord, I will be a living sacrifice for you. I will give to you sacrificially. I will do that for you. Myrrh symbolizes bitterness, suffering, and affliction. You say, well, what can I give Jesus that would symbolize that? Casting all your care upon him, for he careth for you. You see, Jesus wants you to cast your suffering on him. He wants you to cast your hurt on him. He wants you to cast your depression, your anxiety, your frustrations on Him. You say, well, that's no gift. Oh, it is to Jesus. He wants you to cast these things on Him because He cares for you. And when you cast these on Him, truly cast them on Him, then He has what He wants because He has all of you. So give Jesus your suffering, your heartache, your frustrations, your sorrow that you're feeling this Christmas season. Give it to Christ. Come to Him and worship Him on purpose. Worship Him in humility. Give Him the best that you have. Commit to being a living sacrifice and giving sacrificially. But I would say this, whatever your burden is, whatever you're facing, whatever you're having to deal with this Christmas season, give that to Jesus. He wants it too.
Right.
I understand that this Christmas season, there's a lot of people who have lost loved ones. They've lost loved ones they won't be with this season. I understand that there are those who have many memories and many things that go on in their life. There's many sorrows and things. This is the time of year that a lot of hospitals that have Jerry Psych units, they get full. This is the time where most depression, most heartache happens this time of year. I would say, give that to Jesus. Realize that it's not just the memories and the great things that we have that makes Christmas. But it's Jesus. Jesus. Lift Him up. Make Him center focus of your heart this Christmas season. And in this little manger where the baby lie, you will find the joy, the peace, the comfort that you're looking for, that people desire. Right here in a little manger. Come to Him. Come to Jesus. Come on purpose. Come with humility. And come bringing your gold, your frankincense, and your myrrh. And say, God, I'm coming back to you. It's like that song, Coming Back to the Heart of Worship. It's all about you. It's all about you, Jesus. It's all about you. Maybe you're in here, you're watching by way of internet, and you're lost. I would say, come today as the wise men did so many years ago, and bow your heart and your life to Jesus. See, He came to die in your place and give you eternal life. Today, He asks for you. That's all He wants. Simply you. Your heart. Your life. And if you don't know if you're to die today, where you spend eternity, today's the day to get that settled. Maybe you're in here and you're saved. I would say come today and bow down before Jesus and ask Him to take back the throne of your life. Worship Him today. Give Him your gold, your frankincense, and your myrrh. Come and commit to the motto of worship. Lord, you must increase, but I must decrease. May this be my motto for worship. Come today and simply worship. Bow your heads and close your eyes this morning. Nobody's looking around.